Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Deepen with Christina. I'm your host, Christina Weber, founder of We Deepen, wedeepen.com. Make sure before the end of this podcast or as this podcast is ending that you go to wedeepen.com and you check out the calendar and you see all of the upcoming experiences that we have curated for you. These experiences, 2022, because either you're listening to this as you're entering into 2022 or that it is already 2022 at this moment, and it is a new era. It's the era of gathering, and the era of mixing like nightlife with personal development. So we have a lot of activities from some of the top experienced designers, available retreats, festivals, experiences in your city. Go in, check them out. And exciting enough today, because if you've been listening for some time, or you know the genesis of We Deepen, is that we're a relationship company. Our desire is to help you discover more meaningful, loving relationships. And if you are in a relationship, it's been said many times by many professionals, thought leaders in the relationship space, that our relationships need to live inside of the larger social constructs. They need it to be supported by community. So exciting enough, today I have two guests to share with you, Sierra and Rono. They are the founders of Eden World, and Eden World is a community for couples. They do programs monthly. They have a membership. You can join the Eden World. And every month they do a sanctuary weekend where they bring couples, and generally we'll dive into it today, but a lot of the couples, these are people who have been together for 9 months or longer. And they have a community that can help your relationship thrive. Once, which I've had heard from couples in the past, is that they felt that the only things that were being marketed to them were therapy or sex parties. So there's actually more out there for you. So we're going to get into that today. And you will see on the calendar the Eden Sanctuary weekend. So definitely check that out. But today we're going to dive more into what is Eden World. Why are we focusing so much on relationships in 2022? Why has Sierra, Rono, and myself dedicated our life's work to this? And Sierra, Rono, I'm going to bring you into the conversation now because you're here with me. Welcome. It's so exciting to have you on the show.
It's wonderful to be here.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's so interesting. I say the word show, but it's like we're diving into a conversation. We're meeting. We're going to geek out on our favorite topic, and it's exciting to share with you too. Because I remember when I first met you, it was in 2016. I had just moved to Los Angeles, and the two of you had hosted this fun, fabulous feminine weekend, and had brought together, I think there was like 200 of us in a hotel for a weekend. And I could see in that moment, while it was really grounded in bringing women together, there was a night where men came in and joined us. So in that experience, and the two of you have, we'll get into your relationship, have known each other or been in relationship for 20 years. I think you've known each other for 40 years.
Yep.
And so in your work, there's always been some type of underlying self-development. Your relationship has always been in a pinnacle point of you two as partners, not only romantic partners, but full-on 360 life partners. And there's always been, before it seems like your work was mainly focused on women. Mm-hmm. But it has really bloomed to focus on relationship. So I love in your to share with anybody who happens to be listening to this why did you create Eden World? And tell us a little bit about it.
Thank you. Yeah. It's a good question. We get asked a lot. And one of the biggest reasons is because of our own relationship and who we are to each other and what it's taken to be in the type of relationship that we have and continuously evolve into having. And I would say that Rono and I were business partners before we became romantically involved. And as you mentioned, we've known each other our entire lives. We grew up in the same hometown. So we have a long history of friendship and connection through our own hometown community and beyond. And so when we got together romantically, we still kept those businesses going. And it was very clear that uniquely having a romantic relationship also in a business partnership needed specific things. And so that was the initial intention behind Eden, was to create a blend of a relationship-based community and a relationship-based, I guess, kind of like networking club in a way that also we could do business, and we know how to do business, but how do you do business while still being in relationship and keep the business separate or blend it in a way that feels, outside of power struggles that come up and all of these different dynamics. And so our main thing was wanting to create an environment where couples in business could come together and do that. But then we got very clear that it wasn't really just for couples in business. It was really for couples to share wisdom with each other, because we also didn't need a coach necessarily, and we didn't need therapy, and we wanted to still have reflections and support for the very challenges that we were experiencing. So we happened to have had a bunch of couples that were also at the same level and whatnot as us, and they were very supportive. And it was very clear early on that couples supporting couples specifically, we all have wisdom to share, and it was beneficial. So I'll pause there, but see if anything you have to add, Rono, to that story.
I think you said it really well. And what's very clear for us over and over again is that it takes a village to raise a couple. And kids don't get raised well, or they don't live without some sort of parental units supporting them. And if they're fighting all the time or they're having challenges in the relationship, that's what you grow up as. All of us are in therapy or doing this or that because of our childhood wounds, if you will. And so for us, what we soon realize is we're like, oh, we have all these made up stories about relationship and about each other. And we don't necessarily need to go to therapy, as Sierra mentioned, all those different pieces. But when we actually get to see what it looks like to be mirrored positive relationship from other people, having like mentors or wow, you've been married 30 years? What works? How does it work? And then they can let us know. And then for somebody who's been in a relationship for a year or two, that's really powerful. And we don't have a lot of good role models. I would absolutely not look to television for good role models. They
absolutely
they tend to overemphasize all the cliches or the places that don't work because it's funny. But is it really funny anymore? Is the divorce rate really funny? Is your heartbreak funny? Is yelling and screaming funny? Are all those things funny, or are they not anymore? So a lot of those pieces are what merged us into recognizing that it's important to have a village to help raise this couple, so that we can actually raise the next generation of humans in a more positive way.
Nice.
I'm so aligned with you too. That's why I love to be able to call you colleagues within this industry of the relationship industry, because it's so true. Most people didn't grow up observing healthy relationships. There's a lack of relationship role models. I did spend, right now, I'm actually in school getting my certification, my IAC certification in coaching.
Nice.
But years ago, I did have some clients, and I was helping people with their dating lives. And that came to me naturally from an article that was written in Vice magazine about Underground and Attached, the dating experience that I operated from 2014 to 2016. And when I'd work with people, I would ask them often who their relationship role models are. And I went on this month period of time in I guess 2017, and I just would ask everyone, who's your relationship role models? Who's your relationship role models? And I found that people would look at me respond dumb, I don't know. I've never thought, they'd never thought about that question. Exactly. Who do you admire? And I'd see the wheels turning in their brain, because it's hard for us to see even some of the relationship role models that we think they are. We don't really even know what's happening inside of their relationships, because it's really rare to go to places where you actually see authentic love lived.
Totally.
You know, behind the social media filters, we don't really know what's happening inside of those households.
Yeah.
And so we're all kind of left doing it alone. I found it, interesting in your share. You said that you didn't need therapy and you didn't need coaching, but both of you two are coaches at heart.
15 years.
So I imagine, too, that you've had coaches.
For sure.
As well.
Yes, for sure. Mm-hmm.
We've had coaches in business. We've had coaches for personal things, individually. But as a relationship, we weren't needing to sit on the couch and work through our stuff. We just needed somebody to be like, hey, dude, knock it off. You're treating her poorly. Oh, I didn't even realize I was. Oh, thanks. Or, hey, girl, what are you doing? He needs to be encouraged, not put down, or whatever it was. It wasn't we weren't arguing about who's taking out the trash, which is great for therapy. But it's, and we love therapists. The therapists are amazing. I don't want to put them down because
we have a lot in our community.
We have a lot in our community.
We have a whole,
Yeah. But it was just we just need somebody to be like, how about try it like this? Because we didn't know another way to try it, because it's this is how my mom and dad did it. This is how your mom and dad did it. And so we're just doing it that way.
Well, and two is what I hear is you need a community.
Yeah, we need a community.
You create it because, it's not that my friends and I have gathered and have this, sure, you hope that you and your friends have this unconscious agreement to support each other in your relationships, but there's not necessarily, we haven't made that agreement. So oftentimes I'm currently single, and if I'm dating a man or interested in a man, I bring him to my friends, and especially in those early stages, they're like, no, wait, he did what? Get rid of him. They're not necessarily there to root for your relationship. So to have a community that's saying, hey, we want the best for you, and we'll go into some of the Eden World values, because I think that's really important. You put these principles or values, in alignment with the community, so everybody does know that we're here to be supportive. It's not saying that every relationship needs to be together forever and ever and ever.
Right.
But that you have people who are cheerleading for you, and that they're not there to, you can, I imagine in the community, there's sometimes venting, but that venting is actually has an intention to move through it, to move to the highest possible, scenario or situation. I love that. Can you take me back? So you grew up together. You were essentially knew each other for 20 years.
40.
You've known each other for 40 years,
Yep.
but before you became into romantic relationship, you started working together.
Yeah.
And I often, I think many of us out there dream of being in relationships with a significant other that we're creating, and we are building something together. And work. I mean, work is, prior to online dating, I mean, it was couples met at university and at work. And also, interesting enough, at the same time, they met at work, and there's oftentimes inside the workplace restrictions on dating colleagues.
Yep.
And again, it's one of the top places that couples meet. I have multiple. My brain is now going with multiple questions because, number one, we're in the height of remote working has just dramatically increased before COVID. 4%.
Yeah.
We were already looking at 4% were remote workers and already being like, oh my God, so many people are working at home. And now we're at 54+% of people, working remotely.
Wow.
So they're not having those social environments. But anyway, I want to go back to those courting stages, those early stages in your relationship, because I think it's interesting to hear how people come together. Now, when you started, did you have crushes on each other when you started to work together? Was it really strictly platonic and business?
It's a funny story. It's unique because he was my business partner, because I knew him for so long, because he actually happened to have dated my sister in high school. So that's a little twist to the plot.
It was a very platonic relationship, and
yeah.
It was very friendship based, and we cared about each other, and we still do. But it's and that was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was. Oh, my sister.
Older sister, younger sister.
Younger sister. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that relationship was platonic. But when Rono and I really reconnected in each other's lives, as adults, because we weren't in each other's lives for a while, it was clear that we were just buddies, and so much that we would be each other's plan B. Like, I would be dating, and one time this guy I was dating couldn't come to a concert because he had to work. He's like, oh, just take a friend. So I took Rono because he was my plan B. And
it's like, I got to go to this wedding. Oh, hey, you want to come with me? So we just be each other's buddies.
Mm-hmm. And everybody from the outside kind of was like, there's something between you two, including my ex at the time. He really thought it. And one of his,
and my
his
ex
exes.
too was like, are you sure? I'm like, no, her? Ugh, no way.
I was like, he's such a pretty boy. He's so not my type. He's got little baby wings and is not man enough for me. And, we had this, cause he was like a little brother to me, honestly, growing up in many ways. So we weren't
2 years
even.
in high school is a big deal.
Are you two the same age?
No, I'm 2 years younger. So I'm a sophomore. She's a senior in high school. If you think of it that way, it's like if the roles were reversed or the ages were reversed, totally different. But, a little underclassman in high school. Forget about it. I was a dweeb.
He was a dweeb. He was a total dweeb. I would not have given him the time of day in high school.
In fact, you didn't.
Didn't. Yeah. So, but then, a couple of years later, I bumped into him being back in our hometown for a festival that's pretty big every summer. And I was like, oh, wow, little Ronnie Smith is all grown up. And, wow, you're very different than I remember you. And that was my first, I didn't feel romantically attracted to him, but I was like, oh, he's cool. I want to get to know this guy more. He's matured and come into his own. And so that really struck up our friendship. And then he shortly thereafter moved to Los Angeles. And then we started connecting on networking and business endeavors, not getting into business with each other yet. But, and then over time, and I was in a relationship at the time, and so was he. He was married actually at the time. And,
and a quick starter marriage of a year. So
yeah, we'll start our marriage. We like to say, God bless it. And so then we, through then eventually doing projects off and on connected to each other, we ended up doing a full project together, which was one of the first businesses we started. And then we started really spending time together. But again, super platonic, super plan B, super like buddy and work mode. And I literally thought, there wasn't even a thought in my mind, because if we were to have gone there, it could have wrecked everything, right? Wrecked the friendship, wrecked, relationship with my sister, wrecked the business. And I was not even, I had really good, strong boundaries. But then there was one fateful night where everything changed.
Which we can't say on this call, but if you have us back, we'll tell you on another one. It's quite the story.
Come on, you got to tell us.
I know you can't tease them like that.
I'll just say magic hands, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick synopsis. It was magic hands. He was living in Venice at the time. I was in Hollywood. And he didn't have a car. He'd just gotten rid of his car. And so he would come up to work I ran a magazine at the time, and he came and started working for my magazine on top of another business we did. And so 3-4 days out of the week, he would come up to Hollywood, spend a couple days, and then head back. And this week or weekend, he was going to be in Hollywood for some sort of show up on, whatever, Sunset Boulevard, and said, okay, I'm just going to come a day early. We'll get settled in. I was like, great. And I happened to be on a date that night with some other guy, and I forgot he was coming, or he came early or something. And I was literally making out with this guy. I get a call from Rono. He's like, "Oh, I'm back at your house." I'm like, "Oh, right." And so I was like, "Well, I'll be home in a little bit. I don't know." I go back to making out with this guy, and this guy is literally physically rubbing me the wrong way. And I'm like, okay, this is not really working out. And the whole time, all of a sudden, I just could not. I was like, I just need to get out of here. I'd way rather be back with Rono than with this guy. And so that was like my first sort of like, whoa, that's interesting. And then I went home, and there was some sweet things that Rono had done, and he ended up
put some notes on the door, like a couple different notes, like "Welcome home." I was just being sweet. I wasn't, trying to. It was being sweet. She's my buddy, Thanks for having me here, that kind of thing.
But the stars were perfectly aligned. I had that moment of, I came home to these beautiful notes. And him passed out on the couch.
Probably snoring and looking amazing.
Yes, totally. And at the time, I had a little tiny guest house apartment. And so I was like, do you want to stay on the couch or do you want to come up to the bed? Sometimes we would even sleep in the same bed, totally platonic. And he was like, of course I'll come up and sleep in the bed. That night he had some wandering hands. I kept batting him away. I'm like, no. What are you doing? This is like we're friends. And then I had this moment. I'm like, I can keep batting this away because of all these rules and regulations and boundaries that I've set. Or what if I just give in? What if I just give in? And it was but I didn't think too much about it, and I gave in, and we ended up making out and having an amazing experience together. And the next day we were both like, ooh, I was like, well, we're not telling anybody unless we know this is going to be something, because this is, let's just, we can experiment, but let's just be very clear with what we're doing. And within a couple of weeks, we felt we were, already in love with each other as friends, and we were clear that we were good chemistry together. And that was it. We've been together ever since.
Yep.
That's the type of relationship that I think we all dream of. We all dream to be together with our best friends. So I love that story. I think it's so inspiring. And yeah, I understand the overcoming the fear to jump into it. Because I've had those types of scenarios where they have been even one of them, if I did that show X-Rated, and the second guy on the show was somebody who I worked with at We Deep and who once worked, and we tried it out for a moment. We weren't the right click for the long run, but it was something to navigate. So I love. Thank you for sharing that. So fast forward me to now today, because whatever business that you were working on then, you mentioned a magazine, you mentioned some other projects, but now fast forward 20 years later with Eden World, what was the because there was the Fun, Fit, Fabulous, again, those 2016.
Fun, Fabulous, and Feminine, yeah.
Fun, Fabulous, Feminine.
We changed that name because it was hard, yeah.
I remember it being hard then, too. And now into Eden World, and I just, as a, admirer of your work and also a collaborator, I find it really important, really impactful, and I'm curious to know how's it going? What's you're building this community of couples. Are people receptive to it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much so. I will say this one thing, because I don't want to lead people astray, that getting in a relationship with your best friend and all that, absolutely amazing. And it's still a relationship. So it does require work, dedication, commitment, willingness to let go of what you think it is that needs to happen in order for it to be. The first 5 years were challenging for us to maneuver it, because the moment that we turned over from buds to romantic, we immediately were like, well, and then we're like, oh, wait a minute, that wasn't an issue the week before, but now it's an issue now that we're romantic with one another. Whoa, it kind of blew our minds that we were totally cool with each other with all these different aspects, but the moment we got into relationship with one another, it shifted. So that into Eden World, and a lot of our couples, a good portion of them, I wouldn't say a lot anymore, but many of them do work together or are on missions or on purpose in a similar way. Even if they're different companies, their relationship is that same trajectory with one another. And I mean, I think Eden World's amazing. It's very well received. There's maybe a handful of people in the past 3 years that have said, yeah, it's not really for me. Most couples get it and are like, oh my God, I had no idea something like this existed. I'm so grateful it exists because, again, like we said, not everybody wants to be in therapy or not everybody needs a coach, but they really just need support. And if you think of our old familial structures of the past, there'd be multi-generations living in a household. So, kids aren't being raised just by you. You got grandma and grandpa, and maybe even great grandma and grandpa, and you got your nieces and nephews and cousins down the street. And like that used to be the way that we all lived. So the structures for supporting relationship were much more established. Good or bad, they were at least there, and people cared about each other in a way that's kind of challenging in the current structures of the world. And so what Eden World provides is a new world that we can actually relationship. Our number one principle, we've got 12 principles that govern us or guide us, is relationship is our North Star. And that is like the number one thing that we focus on, that by being in relationship, we're committing to a spiritual path of practice and care and commitment and love, where we treat each other as our beloved and our extended community as our beloveds, like so that we treat each other with kindness and care. And it goes beyond marketing. It goes beyond, trying to get people to do something. These principles are eternal and speak across, generations. And like we've got 21 to 79 as our age range in our community. So it's literally everybody. And the whole point is to offer a new way of being around relating with one another, which I know We Deepen is a huge your relationship company, and it's all about how we relate with one another. It's no different in Eden World. We just happen to be focused specifically right now in the dynamic between two or sometimes more. If there's 3 people in a relationship, that's fine too. What would you add, Sierra?
I love that you just said that. I just want to also celebrate that we just hit our 100 couple milestone mark in the membership. And so over the last 3 years, in only 2 of those years did we actually have the membership. The first year was exploring, how does this community even work together? How do we create really good boundaries? How do we create a supportive, vulnerable environment? And then we decided to, then actually establish the membership. But you were very excited that we just hit that we're actually now 102 couples. And so we've grown quite a bit in this last year and a half, especially with the pandemic and the ability to go more global and reach more couples worldwide versus having them be centralized to Southern California, where most of our in-person events were happening and still do happen. So I just wanted to, give a little taste of the growth of this business. And you said it, Rono, there is very small amount of couples that have been touched by Eden that weren't thrilled with the idea of having a community of support and feeling like they can reflect and see themselves so much more clearly with other couples sharing their process. So something that I might be really triggered that Rono keeps doing, and I'm trying to express to him, this is the thing that you're doing, or I'm experiencing you doing rather, and he can't see it very clearly. And then we meet with our couples council, one of the things we do in Eden, or we just have a group breakout room in one of our events, and we see another couple doing something similar, and it's like, oh, that's that thing. And then he, or if I'm doing it,
that's what I sound like. Oh,
yeah.
Let me change
that's what it looks like.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for pointing it out.
It's like, exactly. It's instant awareness where otherwise you could be, battling that out for, years sometimes. So
yeah,
just wanted to add that.
I love that, Rono, you took us back to beginning that relationship, that just as two best friends coming together, first off, that doesn't mean that you should be in a romantic relationship. And second, then how do you set up or be conscious as you're entering this a new form of relating? So in regards to that, and I know that now, I mean, that was 20 years ago, there's oftentimes, because, it's such a delicate dance, and there's a lack of education around how to get into a relationship, how to communicate your needs and your boundaries, and then how does that evolve and change over time? Because I start a relationship, and then we're here to grow. Sometimes we grow together, sometimes we grow apart. And I guess instead of maybe going back and focusing on how did you set it up 20 years ago, what style of relating do you two practice? Part of this question is coming from because is in the relationship industry, as we kind of expand to include the education, all the types of concepts, there's a spectrum. There's polyamory, there's monogamous, there's even the whole question of, I was in talks yesterday with Shai Fishman of the Leveled Up Love community. Yeah. And it's a poly community. And it's funny, whenever I speak with, I posted this on Facebook jokingly last night, and just have been having fun. This thought came to me. I was like, anytime I meet a polymen are always trying to sell me on poly. And I had this epiphany that if I ever end up in relationship with a polyman, it's not going to be hard for me to get a boyfriend. But, and in his reflection in this conversation with Shai, he, sharing him about, my desires for a relationship, and that I'm open to explore and play with my partner and intimately. And he's like, well, then you're not monogamous. You're like monogamish. And so like, okay, I'm monogamish. So as I now, am in this like dating process, or maybe I'm in this relational process, because I think as the work that we do is really around truth. Like, we want to be able to trust our realities, to know the people that we're interacting with, to have these authentic communications. As being a quote unquote monogamish or monogamous person, like, I don't want to walk into a scenario and being like, I'm going to cut your dick off if it ever, touches anybody else. That I understand that attraction is real. But how do you propose that couples navigate this in the early stages of dating, or even individuals navigate this, and then as you're in the relationship as well?
Go for it, Rono.
Yeah, I just got a little thing, and then I'll pass it over to you. So for me, for us, it's the type of relationship that we practice is a committed relationship. And so, like, before we put any layers of terms, or, we're this or that, or we're swingers, or we're polyamorous, or we're, whatever it is, we're in a committed relationship with each other as our primary person that we're working it out with. That's like number one for us. And then secondly, we would probably put ourselves in the monogamish category, because we really just want to be with each other. But if something super cool comes along, we're both like, yeah, that would be fun. Let's play around a little bit. Then sure, maybe we will. And in the many, many years we've been together, that's happened a couple times, not a lot. And so, because we just really enjoy being with each other. And then lastly, and then I'll pass it to you, Sierra, like, the key for any relationship is, and for Eden too, is commitment. And so, like you just said, you don't want to chop anybody's dick off because they looked at somebody else, and thank you.
Thank gosh.
Many of us appreciate that. And I think it's about, by practicing commitment, you can navigate like whatever you want your relationship to be by that commitment to one another. And as long as you're willing to be honest and truthful and all of that with one another. So go ahead, Sierra.
Yeah, I appreciate that. The commitment piece is really, really key. And I think that no matter what style of relationship people choose, as relationship is our North Star, there's so much evolution that can happen through the commitment process and not running off to be with someone else. And I know in the true definition of what I'm learning and understanding polyamory to be, it really is doing deep work with a lot of different people. And so you're getting multiple chances to work out your childhood trauma. For me, I'm like, this one is enough for me to work out my childhood trauma with. I don't need multiple. I don't even have enough space, barely enough space sometimes for Rono and I to even do what we need to do together, let alone try to involve somebody else's emotional realms and fields and needs into the mix. It's a master's path for those that choose that path. That's not the path that we're choosing. But yeah, I think that there's something to learn from every type of relationship
we
style.
are choosing the master's path, just not the polyamorous master's path.
That's true. That's true. It's true. Exactly. Thank you. That's a good correction or addition. Yeah, and I think that a lot of times couples don't necessarily understand what commitment looks like. Like for me, a lot of people relate to, having the abandonment thing, or I'd be like, you know what, the fuck you, I'm out of here type person as soon as trouble would hit, because it would just be my safety mechanism to protect myself. And staying deeply connected in the process of when I want to run away or when I'm feeling hurt or when I want to put up my walls, to see what is actually going on within me, and then to meet my beloved Rono here, with more open-heartedness has been a lot of freaking work to do that, and a lot of patience with myself, and a lot of connection to that commitment that he spoke of, that we are committed to, and to even be part of Eden, as you mentioned. It is all about commitment. It's a commitment to yourself. We have our 12 principles, but we have our 4 pillars, and we have our sovereignty pillar, our unity, community, and humanity. And we are committed to doing our sovereign work. But that's not an exclusiveness. It doesn't live in its own vacuum. It's connected to how we're in our unity, which is our partnerships, our relationship, but also any relationship. And then how do we bring that commitment to our community? Really supporting, as you also shared, Christina, at the beginning with the community aspect, to know that we are a stand for every relationship in our community, or relationships, period. Doesn't matter if they're in our community or not. So if somebody's coming with trouble or an issue or a trigger, we're going to hold their partner equally in the light, knowing that these are just patterns that are very typical, that all relationships go through based on a lot of the childhood traumas and wounds that we've had to grow through. And it's often not personal. But we hold the relationship as sacred, and no matter what, and that's how we hold it with each other in our community. And then we hold that the next level out in humanity. How do we hold relationship as sacred in humanity, which is why we're such great partners with what you're up to. So I'm not even sure if I even answered the question you asked, but that's where I just went. So.
Well, it made me think of, as you were speaking, as you said, you said that when the couples in your community, you're there to hold up their relationship, and every couple that you meet, you're met there to hold. You want to hold all the couples' relationships.
Yep,
exactly.
High,
yep,
and be of sacred. They're sacred, and be of service to them. And I was thinking about, like, imagine if we did that as a world, and that especially in our workplaces, that when, as I'm CEO founder of an organization that I imagine growing into, in my big vision, my wildest dreams, like we grow into an organization. We need lots of team. We need lots of people on the team to play roles, and we want to support their relationships. So as you enter the organization, that our company gives you access to the Eden community, so that we have a partner that is there to support your relationships. Because so often in the workplaces, they just leave it out. And productivity, when you think of productivity for your team or your workforce, it is including their full 60 of their life experiences. When they go home, are they in abusive relationships? Are they swiping? They say fantasy football time. The productivity in the office can decrease dramatically during fantasy football amongst men if they participate. And that's similar when they're swiping on dating apps.
Yeah.
People want to feel so secure when they're in healthy, meaningful, loving relationships. We can thrive in actually the work that's needed to do to transform the universe to create the world that we wish to see. Sorry if I get all oneness and stuff, but I do
bring it.
It's important that the Eden world could be in an injected system inside of corporate America.
Absolutely.
Yes. Exactly. We see our principles as they're just relational technology. It's just a better way to be in partnership with any human being, period. We have community members that use them for their family. We have people that use them in their business. As you're speaking, I'm thinking, no, we could actually even use these a lot more even with our team. One of our principles is we take it all the way through. Well, does that mean we take any issue all the way through, but we also make sure we take every project all the way through, right? There's so many pieces to the principles that are all about how can we be more understanding, more loving, more available, and willing to do what it takes and not just write somebody off or walk away or feel like we're going to be kicked out or all of the insecurities that humans, can carry with us from time to time. And that's really our vision is how do we create, we called it Eden World because we see it as a new world. We're creating a whole new world, and it is based and steeped in how we care for one another as humans.
I see, when I started studying relationships, it was around, 2014 after Underground and Attached, pre what has now evolved into We Deepen. The skill set, the same skill set that I was learning from romantic relationships, started focusing on romantic relationship, is the same thing that was needed for me to have thriving relationships with my family, with my colleagues. And we can even see it from Esther Perel's work of, she started with her podcast of, how's, Where Do We Begin, which was focused on romantic love, and then launched a second podcast said, How's Work? So it's all ties in together. And that's why I'm also so grateful that you are, when I look around and I see the development of what I like to call the relationship industry, and sometimes I call it the human connection industry, but I see so many people, when I first, I guess, discovered it, when I first got into this, it was like the dating industry. And I discovered like all the matchmakers and the dating app founders and then the dating coaches. And there was a little bit of like,
it's schmarmy.
These are the people that are responsible for our love life. Like, what's going on?
Totally.
So now this evolution of what I like to see it in this new industry, the relationship industry. And maybe, we had Bell Hooks passed away this week, who is a revolutionary in love. Like, her work is love. I know that she's known as, for anti-racism and her work as a feminist. However, I would love if she is most known for her work in love, because that's all what is the underneath umbrella. So maybe it's even the love industry. Mm-hmm. But you are such important participants in it, and the skill sets that you have created are actually what is catalyzing. It's super important to have. So my goal of supporting the development of this industry is that we, as colleagues, get to practice all of these skills together. We get to, the tide rises, as what I was on a meeting earlier today, and we were referring to, because We Deepen as we're building, it's, we have to keep painting this vision, like, trust us, come with us. We have the MVP. It's not the finished product. We want a personalized token economy of transformational experiences that will help people have healthy, meaningful, loving relationships. But it's not built just yet. We don't have the tech product built yet. Mainly what you're seeing is like a calendar and building event pages and we're helping you process tickets, and then we're asking for a percentage, a rev share split. But as we network it all together, we all get to rise. But in that, we have to practice all of our shit because scarcity comes up. The competition comes up, and we're all working through that ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
Totally. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it is fascinating. Wherever we work a lot with the three power pillars of God, sex, money. Right? Those are the three places where things can get the most squirrely for people, right? When we're having money conversations, all of our shit can rise up because of whatever beliefs we're holding. When we're talking about religion or spirituality or anything, there can be a lot of different viewpoints and histories that come with that. When we're talking about sex or sexuality, I mean, talk about, that's one of the bigger places that we can either be super empowered or super disempowered. So then you throw a community all together trying to co-create something. And like you said, scarcity, competition, it becomes, people aren't used to, we've sort of developed this, we're coming out of the personality-based brand era. And we're not quite out of it yet because of so much Instagram and Instagram influencers and things like that, where people are, it's all about them and it's all about who they are versus about what they're up to and how they're bringing things. And I got late into the Instagram game, but I'm seeing that it is shifting from the look at me to look at this, or look at this cause or look at this thing or look at this community. And I am seeing more of that. And I'm hearing from some of the early influencers that things are moving in that direction, even perhaps the algorithms. I don't know enough about this yet, but that's crossed my path. And I think that collaborative endeavors, people crave them, they want them, but when you actually make it happen, you have to be willing and able and ready for the things to come up, like you just shared. And we experience that deeply in Eden every day. So we have 7 couples just in our LLC alone, right? Getting to that point and working through the things we need to work through to even form. It took years. And then we have, they're not all couples. I mean, we have all couples, but not all of the partners are in our design team for our experiences. However, a majority of us on that design team, we have to constantly work through how we're collaborating in order to create these products, these offerings, this design, experience design for the Eden community. And then, we have this Eden Clubhouse, and it's some people live here part-time, some people are more transient, and then we have events here often, and people are coming in, and it's about really how do we even hold a household together at various times with anchor tenants and transient tenants and then visitors for the events. And relationship stuff never ends. It's a constant need. And then you add in, and we had this conversation with you, a couple of weeks ago, you add in COVID and protocols and what that requires, the level of conversation that is needed for humanity to even feel safe or just simply stop the spread. Like to even ask, where have you been? Did you wear a mask? Have you protected yourself? Whether we want to ask if somebody's vaccinated or not, whether that means anything or not, just even the level of conversation. Then you're adding political polarities into this. And to find a common place where one of our principles, all needs met, that one is a tricky one because it's not about everyone's need being met, but it's about by expressing our needs, we get to have a higher need met. We learn something new about where everybody gets to meet in the middle, not through compromise, but through the willingness to express all the fears, all the concerns, all the needs, all the desires, all the things, and find the higher path and find something that we can all go, yep, that's the place that everyone can meet in the center on.
It feels good.
That feels good. That feels good. And then we can move forward in a way that is productive. So
my, as founding We Deepen and being the current CEO of the organization, it is challenging when you're building and all these different personalities coming together. And one of my advisors used to say to me often, 2 captains, 1 ship, no good. 2 captains, one person has to hold the vision. 2 captains, 1 ship, no good. So how do you is that something that resonates inside of your coupledom? I mean, the 2 of you, and also how about inside of a couple's community? How do you, is there?
Yeah. I mean, it totally resonates. So yeah, we call relationship coupleship, and it's so funny enough, like the captain metaphor would work quite well. I would agree, because then you just get in power struggles. And when I said you got to be committed, Sierra and I have had definitely our fair share of power struggles, especially early on in our relationship. We started a company together. Then she hired me to be the creative director of her magazine. So she was essentially my boss. And that's why it was like extra careful to not, not mix things up with when we got together. But what we have come to realize in some of the amazing tools that we get to learn from other couples, and they're like, oh, this is how we do it. This is how we do it. And then, the body of practices and tools just grows and grows and grows. So the wisdom that is held within the coupledom, the whole community, is quite profound. How we work that one out is we have things called keeper roles. And if you're the keeper of that role, then it's your domain. You're the captain of that particular thing. So for super simple, I'm the keeper of the calendar. I'm the keeper of technology. So if there's a new phone or her computer or this or that, I'm the keeper of that. I'll hold the technology. I'll make sure that I'm up to speed so that I know what's going on with technology. It's something I enjoy, where it's struggles for her. I'm also the keeper of the car. So I'm responsible for making sure that it gets the oil changed, that it's this and that. We actually learned from another coach many, many years ago that she's never filled up her gas tank. And so that was actually something that Sierra requested, that I always make sure that the gas tank's topped off when I leave it at the house. No, she has, and she doesn't mind doing it, but it's a nice little perk that she's like, that's so nice. I just get in a car, and now recently I'm just making sure that it's cleaned. It's always got a fresh tank of gas in it. And how so delightful.
You're doing so great.
And so that just makes her feel extra special. So guess what? That's going to come back to me, because she's the keeper of intimacy. So if she's holding intimacy for our relationship, and I'm handling these other things, am I doing it so I get rewarded in the bedroom? No, I'm doing it because I value our relationship. I value making our relationship flow easy, but it probably is going to come back to me in areas like that. For example, just as a way how we manage who's captaining what. And even in the business, just to wrap it up, I'm currently the CEO of the company, and Sierra is the director of programming for the whole community. And there's a lot of places where we overlap, and I'll come in and I'll be the director person, and she'll do CEO things, and we just ebb and flow with it. But we do have titles. We do honor and respect each other's lanes, for the most part. Sometimes we don't,
Yeah.
But that's how we work in our particular coupleship, and then also in the coupledom, how we work those roles.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, I know we just have a few minutes left in our conversation, and I want to make sure that people leave having learned what it would be like for them to attend a sanctuary weekend, and also who that sanctuary weekend is for. I mentioned as we started this that it's you have to be in a relationship for 9 months or longer.
A year, yeah, yep.
Actually,
a year,
4 seasons.
So it actually increased. It's longer now.
It's always been that. Yep.
Oh,
we
9 months. I guess I looked at having a baby. Is
totally. I mean, hey, you give me pause to consider. Maybe 9 months is enough, but we'd like to say 4 seasons.
There's some exceptions, guys.
There are some exceptions,
I know. And there's a few that have slipped through. Exactly. Yeah, and sometimes they're engaged, and we know they're committed for life. So you're like, well, if you're engaged, it's 7 months, 8 months. You're really committed. Hey, we're not gonna. That's what you're committed to. So there are some exceptions. I would say that so the sanctuary is our membership, and that's the community of practice. That's where we practice the art of being in relationship, and we have these weekend experiences that are primarily virtual, and we do some in person, but we have a few less of those this year. So I don't want to address those. I'm just going to address the virtual because that's the easiest place for a couple to plug into, and once they plug into that, they can learn more about the in-person experiences. So yeah, we're actually going every other month for the weekend experiences, and we do have things in between those months for 2022. But basically, you have an opportunity. You can go to the We Deepen, and we have a partnership with We Deepen, and you can get a significant discount to come to these events. But what you're doing is you're stepping into the existing container of what we've been working with the members to create all sorts of experiences that we do, and we typically have a topic, like a theme each weekend. So we just did December this past month was reflection, and it was great tools to actually stop and reflect on your relationship so you can leap forward, so you can really see how you've grown or where you might need to reflect a little bit or pause. We learned 3 tools: pause, ponder, and proceed. It's quite fabulous. In the past, we had freedom, we've had ritual, we've had all these different great power, amplify, all these beautiful themes. And we're going to continue with new themes. In fact, we have a yearly theme now. It's called the Renaissance of Love. And then
so
we're
2022 is the Renaissance of Love, and it's really exciting.
So you can check it out on the We Deepen site and connect and get that discount. But as a new couple to Eden coming to check it out, you'll get a chance to just dip your toe in, feel the experience, and then if you choose at that point, we would invite you into a membership, and then you can be with us. We ask for a year commitment because we're about commitment. So you join us for a year, and you get to be held and loved and have these incredible experiences and meet other incredible couples. The business networking that happens alone in Eden is worth the membership in gold. It's in spades because
primarily entrepreneurial type couples. Christina, you'd be a great fit. I'm super excited for your beau to sweep you off your feet and start. Oh my God, they're like your partner. Everything that you desire, I know, is coming your way, and you deserve it. And we can't wait for you to be in this community.
I know.
Thank you. Bring it in. I'll bring it in. And 2022 is the year that I focus on my personal relationship. It's the past years. Yes, it's been a focal point, but it's also, I realized I have been mixing. I guess I've had this once I build the business, once I get the business, I'll have the security, and once I have my financial freedom, then the relationship will come.
Yeah.
And
the if, when, then I can.
These intertwiningness that's happened. But if the weekend, if I'm in relationship and I want to join this experience, it'll be a Saturday and Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Typically, although we're shifting a little bit up, so it might just be a Saturday, Sunday this coming year. Yeah.
So Saturday, Sunday, and it will happen on Zoom. So me and my significant other will be on the computer, engaging with other people and topics and interactive experiences and games, and we will leave that weekend feeling closer and connected to my partner, and also to a community of other people that will support us. Now, generally, I imagine that one person in the couple hears about this Eden world, and they are excited. They want to then go and pitch it to their partner, enroll them in joining this. And I imagine that's probably always one person wants to go first and jump in, and the other's what are you talking about?
And it's
totally
90% women that are the first ones, and the guys are typically reluctant. And what we can say to the guys, and or same sex, however the couples work out, or non-binary, we've got it all. I would say, give it a shot, guys. Try it out for the weekend. We say it's like a romantic weekend away for two from the comfort of your home. And so it really is
that they don't have to plan.
Yeah, that they don't have to
plan.
It's
including
interactive.
an epic date night.
Yeah, including an epic date night, which we're known for. It's that's our signature, holy hell, this is awesome. And then people are we just had an epic and it's the most amazing date night we've ever had. But for guys,
and that's the Saturday night.
That's the Saturday night of it. And guys, I'll say this: we have 3 sovereignty councils that work on our individualness, and we've got the Council of Kings, the Council of Queens, and the Council of Infinite Beings. beings. And kings are for guys that just resonate with being, men, and the queens are for people that resonate with being women, and the infinite beings are like, you know what, I'm not into this whole gender or like binary conversation. Let's open it up. So we've got something for everybody.
Or I am a queen, but I want to explore the infinite parts of myself beyond being a queen.
I'm an infinite king with a side of queen in me. So, I've got a lot in me. Like what I'll say to the guys is that it's really an awesome place, for men to. It's not very intimidating. It's not too woo woo. It's not too girly. It's like it's all around just like, you know what? There's a lot of great guys here, and I appreciate the straightforward conversation. I appreciate that people don't mince their words. I appreciate that that there's great tools to learn. That everyone's genuine and real. They actually want to connect. They're it's something to experience. And what we keep hearing, and then over to you, Sierra, is that oh my God, I've never experienced anything like this, because it doesn't exist out in the world. This is the first of its kind that we know. We have not seen anything else. And usually when we start companies, there's a whole bunch of other things, but we have not found anything like this. And so just try it out. You don't have to stay. We're not very salesy. You'll find that it's very different how we enroll people, air quotes, or encourage you to.
Well, the experience enrolls itself.
Totally.
Really.
We're not hard sales people. We're like, we don't actually want you here unless it's really lights you up. And so what were you going to say, Sierra?
Well, I was just going to add, and I know we got to wrap it up. I just wanted to add that the beauty of when you were talking about the men is the level of respect that everybody has for each other's relationship. And so the men feel very safe with the other men, and the women feel safe with the men, and the men feel safe with the women. It's because we're in a coupledom, and we're really committed to the leveling up of the partnership. There's an incredibly safe feeling where you don't feel like anybody's trying to hook up with or get with your partner. And so the men have a really strong brotherhood, which creates a major safety field for them and the whole community, and as well as same as in the sisterhood and then everything in between. But there is something really beautiful about how the men treat each other as brothers in this community and really allow the fullness of their divine masculine and their divine feminine to be expressed, and even the young parts of themselves and the wise parts of themselves. It's quite extraordinary. So
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for the work that you're doing in the world. I'm such a fan. I'm so honored to be able to represent your work in the world and to promote it and share it, because that's what I love to do most. I think that you two know I used to be a pharmaceutical rep at one point in my life, and I was trained in sales. I love sales from the aspect of wanting to sell a new world. So that's the role that I get to play. So thank you for giving me your work, so I can actually put it on a platter and present it to.
There's no better drug than love, babe.
That's true.
It's so true. And
nice.
I don't know why we're hiding the love sometimes.
Yeah.
Show it to the world. Put it on the TV. If it can replace all the pharmaceutical commercials,
oh yes,
I'm game. Let's
oh my gosh. Totally.
Yeah.
Thank you for your contribution to this mission and your willingness to serve us up on a platter, and all that you are doing to create better relationships and better connecting. It's so quite delightful. Inspirational. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you. Everyone, if you're listening, or I know you are listening because you're here right now, go to wedeepen.com. Click on the calendar. You'll see the Eden Sanctuary weekend coming up. Click into it there. It'll connect to Rono and Sierra and the Eden World's Instagram. You can go follow them there. Sign up for the weekend. If you are not in a relationship, but you have friends who are, share this with them. Invite them into the community. Support their relationship. I mean, how special will it be if, I think, and I love, and we didn't go into it because I know that you guys are actually interested in supporting people who are currently single.
Yeah. And we call them uncoupled, but yes.
Pre-coupled.
Sorry.
Pre-coupled.
Yeah, pre-coupled. You're interested in supporting them to have healthy, loving relationships and find their partners. And so us, as the ones who are uncoupled in the moment, let's support the couples go send them the link if you have friends who are in relationship and you want to see them thrive and move through any of their challenges and their issues. And there's other stuff there at wedeepen.com that you can check out. One experience that I'm super excited about, and it's gonna sell out, so hopefully you get your ticket before it does, is Unleash. Unleash is happening in Miami. The theme is radical play. It's a 3-day, 2-night transformational experience, including Tantra, guided dance journey, EFT, that's emotional freedom technique, somatic healing, all the things, and it's just great people. It's beautiful people, and those people want to see you in loving, meaningful relationships as well. If you enjoy this podcast, share that with friends. Like it, follow it. Send me a message, send some feedback. If you're listening on Apple, you can put a comment there. It helps other people to discover this work in the podcast and all the experiences in this whole new universe. I'll take a breath. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode, and I love you. Until next time. Bye.